Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on what side of the world you are on. Thank you so very much for joining. Come on in. We are live tonight. I want interaction. I want engagement with you. We have a wonderful Motivation Monday set for us tonight. We're going to be talking about future ever after. Future ever after. Come on in. I'm so excited you're here. It is Monday, the 14th of December. Listen, we're almost at the end of this year. If the Lord allows, we are almost at the finish line. Y'all ready? We're going to celebrate on the way out. All right. I love it. We're going to celebrate. We are going to rejoice. We are going to lift our hands and our hearts in celebration. So, for those that don't know, my name is Letra Davis and I bring you LeLesChronicles. LeLesChronicles is a opportunity for me to share life with you amongst all areas of life. So on Mondays, we do Motivation Monday. Why do we do Motivation Monday? Motivation Monday is set to encourage, to inspire you to live a life that is not ho-hum, that is not cemented, that is not stagnated, that is not stuck. We learn how to get unstuck with Motivation Mondays. So for those who have been following me for a while, and for those that may not have been following me and you are new, welcome. We are going to be talking about future ever after. And you might think, Letra, where in the world did you get that title? Well, for some that understand me, I love theater. I love the arts. I love the creative. I love the narratives, the storytelling, right? And what an awesome time it is for the creatives. Somebody say, yay, creatives. I mean, we are in huge demand today, whereas before it used to be thought of as a side gig, not your real job. It used to be looked at as a hobby, or for those people who are just sort of kind of different. But listen, the creatives have the table right now and the feast is on. And I'm excited to be a part of the creative community. I've been a part of the creative community all my life. I live, eat, breathe, sleep, drink, think creatively. That's who I am. If you can resonate with that, let me know in the comment section. I think in colors. I think in shapes. Some folks think in numbers. Some people think in different analytical type of ways. I think in designs and I think in shapes and creatives. So where I got that name, Future Ever After, actually stems from storytelling that I learned when I was a little girl in the way of fairy tales. How many remember fairy tales? Do you have a favorite? Let me say that again. You try saying that fast 5 times. Favorite. I can't even say it. Favorite fairy tales. There, I got it. I remember listening to stories or having stories read to me by teachers or other people, not in my home. My mother actually was not a huge person regarding storytelling in terms of fairy tales. She was Bible, honey. Bible, King James Version, if you want to know. So we really did not grow up with fairy tales in our household, but because of my innate ability to be drawn to that type of thing, I gleaned from other people's homes or at school in the libraries where I could read fairy tale stories. So if you're a person who liked fairy tales, or you remember fairy tales, or they have some type of fond memory for you, let me know in the comment section what one of your favorite fairy tales were. I can't say that I really have a favorite fairy tale, although I remember they all typically had similar elements. Okay, so most fairy tales had the element of the main characters Typically, it was a woman. Sometimes it was an animal or a male, but most times it was a woman. Then there had to be a woman who really was what they would deem as a damsel in disguise, a damsel in need, a damsel in needing of rescue. And so that was a typical part of the plot. And then that damsel had to have a person to come rescue her, a hero, a knight in shining armor, if you will. And then also many times in most fairy tales back then, it also included, and in today's storytelling, there is an element of magic, the magical, and it could have been what they would say dark magic or quote unquote good magic, and some type of spell was most times always included in that. And so that's the things that I remember a lot. And as I was coming through the opportunity to be with you all today, I wanted to share with you about some storytellers and that did some popular classic stories. And there was a group of brothers called the Grimm Brothers. Okay, that is Grimm, Grimm, 2 M's at the end. And they were born in 1785 and 1786. One was called Wilhelm Grimm and the brother was Jacob Grimm. They became very popular because they created something called the Grimm story tales. And so you'll recognize some of these fairy tales that they did. So do you know or remember Cinderella? Do you remember the Frog Prince? Do you remember Rapunzel? Do you remember Beauty and the Beast? Do you remember Little Red Riding Hood? Okay, some very classic fairy tales set in the 18th century. And these brothers were credited by either writing or capturing these stories. So many people understand that the Grimm brothers actually did not write Cinderella or Rapunzel. However, those stories did exist a long time before the Grimm brothers, Jacob and Wilhelm, were born. However, it was stories that were passed from generation to generation, oral storytelling. And what the Grimm brothers did for those 2 stories was to capture it and put it in writing on paper, in a format on paper. And so there's a misconception that they wrote Cinderella and Rapunzel, but that's actually not the case. But they did write many other very popular children's stories. And I want to stop right there. Children's stories. Did you know that most of the fairy tales that have been told to us and we have possibly passed down to our children actually were not written for adults at all? And if you go back into the history, which I love to do, I love to know the why of a story, a narrative. I like to know the nitty gritty. I like to dissect and know the ins and outs and the inner workings of why a creative piece is what it is. So if you were to research the history of most of those classic fairy tales, they were never intended to be geared or steered towards children. In fact, they were meant for adults. And because they started becoming popular towards children, the very what you would probably consider rated R or rated X in today's society actually was those original pieces. But because children started reading them and started getting involved in learning about them, they had to revise those stories over and over and get the clean version, okay? So just a little bit of fairy tale trivia for you guys. So what intrigued me about the Grimm brothers is because they were born, like I mentioned, in 1786 and 1785, very close in age. They were 2 of 9 siblings in their family. And when they were just 9 and 10 years old, their father, Philip, he died from pneumonia, and it threw the family into utter poverty. And I just wanted to let you know that those young boys had it hard, right? Having a home filled with laughter, according to the research that is out there about Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm, they grew up in a happy home and things were wonderful until their father died, and then they had to go into strong poverty. But yet and still, they rose above that and they became these wonderful capturers or storytellers, and they did all kinds of other stuff. They weren't just storytellers, but they did all other kinds of stuff. They were professors at a university there in Germany until somebody wanted them to pledge allegiance to the king and they refused, and then they were kicked out of the college. I told you I like to learn all that kind of stuff. But they rose up out of that dark time in their lives, and it affected them throughout their lives, but they did not allow it to stop their ability to provide happiness in terms of narratives and stories to countless of other people across the globe. And I just say future ever after. So when something has rocked your world, such as their father dying, such as them becoming going from having enough to not having enough at all. When you've come across something that has truly rocked your world, it has shifted everything in your life suddenly, you'll have to learn how to come up above that, to rise above that. And am I saying that that's easy? No, I am not saying that that is easy, but I am also not saying it's impossible, okay? All of these years later, 2020, we're still reading books, sharing books to our children about Cinderella, Rapunzel, Hansel and Gretel, the Little Red Riding Hood. There's adaptations of these stories over and over and over again. So I just want to encourage you to know that those things that are inside of you, those creative things, those passionate things that you want to do, you may not think that it's going to be possible for it to be an encouragement to someone, to be a help to somebody. But let me just encourage you. Don't stop just because you've had some hard knocks. Don't quit just because you've had some tough times. It's been tough for so many people lately, right? So many people have had very abrupt situations happen, or they have the trickling effect of what has happened this year. And it's been hard for people, and I'm not trying to deny that. I'm not trying to cover that up. I'm not trying to acknowledge that. In fact, I do acknowledge it, but I also acknowledge that your passion to do things and be creative, to be innovative, to be creative, to be a light to other people, to be a strength to other people, that's not dimmed. That is not squashed out just because of some hard times. We will get through this. I know it. I believe it. I trust it. I'm going with it, and I want you to go with me, okay? So that's all I have for tonight. Letra Davis, Lee's Chronicles. Please, 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 if you would like, comment, and share, and let me know again in the comment section what your favorite fairy tale that you can remember is. And also, if you want us to join you in cheering you on during your hard times right now, we're here with you. The LeLes community, the LeLesChronicles community is with you. We are for you. And know this, more than me, more than the LeLesChronicles community, God is with you. He is for you. He is not against you. He loves you with an everlasting love, and his love endures forever. All right, LeLesChronicles, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have a goal of reaching 1,000 new subscribers by the end of 2020. Would you help me do it? I'd appreciate it. Light, love, Letra. Bye.